animals travel thousands of kilometers, navigating open oceans that have no physical landmarks. They have that innate ability to find their way. They're only sharing our beach for a short point in time, but they need protection because man has brought an ancient species to near extinction. I got involved at a time when hostilities were very real. People came with guns and machetes to poach a turtle. We would protect these animals at all costs. Because on the high tides, when the tide comes up, this area here will be flooded, right? So when the sea turtle lays her egg, the nest requires a constant temperature. And if we recognize that this nest is in a real bad spot, we choose a spot further inland on the beach that's stable, and then we would evaluate if the eggs were able to hatch because of us moving them. And in both cases, we're always right. So as the villagers began to benefit from the tourism that turtle conservation was creating, they saw that the turtle was worth more to them alive than dead. The children really love sea turtles. We educate them, but we involve them. And by so doing, we get them to a level of interest where they want to become actively involved. When we first started this conservation work, we would encounter at the height of the nesting season 30, 40 turtles. Now we encounter over 500. That's significant. Some people argue, well, that's nature. Leave them. Why protect them? But remember, humans have to intervene sometimes to help nature keep existing.
As a child, I had no idea how important the ocean is, that the great majority of life on Earth is in the sea, that the greatest diversity of life is in the sea. My name is Sylvia Earle. I'm a scientist, an oceanographer, an ocean explorer. I've spent years at sea aboard ships and thousands of hours under the sea. I've seen things others have not. If others could see what I've witnessed, they would know how much the ocean has changed, and they would know why caring for the ocean matters to everyone, everywhere. The ocean is Earth's life support system, generating most of the oxygen in the atmosphere, capturing much of the carbon dioxide produced by human actions. The ocean is the planet's living blue heart. Every creature has a story. Every one, whether you're looking at a little crab, or a starfish, or a shark. If people stayed on the shore, never got underwater, how would we ever know that fish, that they have communities, they have faces? Their importance as fellow citizens, as cultures, as amazing creatures that we can learn from. There's a lot of water we now know elsewhere in the solar system and elsewhere in space. But to have a liquid ocean with frozen polar areas, it's taken 4.5 billion years to shape the world in a way that is favorable to humankind. It's taken us about 4.5 decades to significantly unravel systems. No ocean, no life. No ocean, no us.
What we know as humans about whales comes from just a few scientists so far, like Roger and Katie Payne. They had background in music, and by kind of mapping out the songs, noticing that if they would look at this almost like a song sheet, every 15 minutes or so there would be a repeat. Only male humpbacks sing, but the function of their song is still mysterious. The general belief is that whale songs serve the same purposes that bird songs do, as ways for males to advertise for mates and to challenge rivals. But why they change their songs is still unknown. taking that information from whales and passing that to us humans was one of the most transformative pieces of narrative to feed the Save the Whale movement and maybe save some whales from extinction. These animals are sharing this world that might have been millions of years going on in their world, and suddenly, for the first time, we, as humans, are tuning in. The energy from our star flies through the universe, through our atmosphere, and hits us at the ground. But now, when we go underwater, the ocean properties of water are like pure blue filter. So it's going to filter out all these other wavelengths except blue. As you go down further, it's primarily blue, blue, blue till 700 meters. And at that level, there's still faint photons of sunlight in the blue range. And we call this the twilight zone. And there, animals are still perceiving a tiny little bit of our sun's energy. Below this, it's gone. 24/7 darkness. And it turns out that there's a ton of color vision down in the deep, so it's like they're making enough light down there to be able to be satisfying all the eyes of the deep sea creatures. So it's not this totally dark world down there. It's still light. It's just the animals are making the light rather than the sun. We've designed all this technology to kind of satisfy our visual hardware. As I started looking at other animals, they have totally different hardware. And I've been looking at everything through these silly little primate eyes. We have to overcome our humanness to jump behind the world of a shark or another creature and see the world from their perspective. We found a biofluorescent shark, and it only sees right at the blue-green interface. So it's really just tuned to a very similar spectrum to the environment it lives in. This fluorescence was creating greater contrast for the shark. It's like this endless well of information. We're at the very tip of the iceberg.
Day 12. Spent the last 5 days on an endless series of depth tests of Andre's deep diving suit. Guess he doesn't want me to implode on the live stream. I do hope it's giant squid proof though. The mapping drone located a brine pool near where Andrea's family has been hunting. That is, before I went AWOL. Ready to dive. Dive. I'm in and okay.
You sure I can't talk you into another test dive at this depth before we stream?
Enough test dives. It's not like I'm doing a spacewalk.
Well, with this suit you probably could.
Are we gonna talk about suit crush depth again?
I think we can probably roll.
Starting the live stream.
Welcome back, ocean friends. Tonight, I am deep. Midnight zone, no light from the surface deep. Tonight, we're using Andre's lure drone to mimic the Atolla jellyfish to lure large predators like the giant squid.
It's certainly not all my tech. I'm building on years of prior research.
Don't forget our mission to the brine pools.
Oh yes, Arena will fill you in on that later. Okay, Andre, how do I find the lure drone?
Look for blinking red lights in the water column. No need to get too close. You can activate the lure from there.
Andre, have you done this before?
I haven't, but others have.
How long until we can expect the lure to attract a predator?
It's hard to say. It's a big ocean. But if you lose patience, I would find some real Atolla jellyfish. I have a feedback system set up to improve the lure as you scan them.
Of course you do. For those watching, we will be scanning these Atolla jellyfish to make sure Andre's lure matches the real thing.
It does, but it can always be refined.
Not much confidence in humanity, but plenty in himself. Got the jellyfish scans, though Andre doesn't need them.
In truth, they should improve the lure. I would not waste your time.
Getting a few impolite comments on the screen pointing out that giant squid don't feed on Atolla jellyfish.
They're right. Actually, the Atolla puts on this light show when under attack, in order to lure creatures big enough to eat their attacker. Might have some useful human applications.
I think we need more Atolla scans to improve the lure.
Okay, whose idea was it to live stream this particular dive? I am glad I can't see the comments.
I would agree. My grandmother had a saying for times like this. I'm not going to try my grandmother's accent on a live stream, but loosely translated, it means if you get bored waiting for a giant squid, you can always go to a bride pool.
That's a pretty specific saying.
I noticed that these atollas were already making their blue alarm before you swam close.
Most likely a sign that they have detected predators in the region that threaten them.
That gave me a chill. I know how much you enjoyed that, but do you mind if we check out the brine pool before we check on our whale cam?
If you insist. You got what you wanted. This is my giant squid.
Is that another one of your grandmother's sayings?
No, but she often used this one. Hurry up and collect my specimens for me.
What an expressive language.
It's no giant squid, but I promise you, you won't have to wait to find it.
At long last, welcome to the brine pool. I know it's really a salt lake under the ocean, but it looks more like a witch's brew. I have been teasing Arena, but a brine pool is a diverse microenvironment within the ocean. It has its own ecosystem.
And each one is unique. So that means the microbiology is unique and could hold groundbreaking solutions to human problems. Each time I take new samples into a lab here on this ship, it's this magical discovery moment where I tingle all over. I fund my own research so I can pursue what I know to be important. And people ask me, how much money are you going to spend to collect some bacteria at the bottom of the ocean? If these bacteria hold the cure for a disease that relieves even just a small amount of human suffering, how do you put a price on that?
That is some giant squid.
Mirai, pushing your waypoint.
Sperm whales are back on the hunt.
Look for the drones. They will seek out the sound of the sperm whales and then idle nearby.
We hope that today, Andrea's tech will make it possible to document how a sperm whale hunts the giant squid. Let's go tag some sperm whales so we can eavesdrop on their hunting.
One of our viewers wants to know if there is a problem with the link, since the waypoints keep appearing and disappearing.
No problem. The drones are in stealth mode, so they will only track the whales by sound.
I better swim fast. We'll keep good watch over you. Whoa! What just happened?
I think the squid knocked the camera right off.
I had that camera feed in full screen on my visor, and for a second I thought it was lights out for me.
Sounds like a good time for the sub to pick you up. Live stream out.
Sound to whales is everything. It's their hands. These are animals with the biggest brain on Earth and the most powerful sonic apparatus. They spend a lot of their time deep down. They're diving for an hour at a time in darkness. Just like a submarine is echolocating, they ping a signal out and then they wait for that signal to bounce off something and come back as the signal. And from that information, they could get an idea of what's there.
They constantly click, and that click sometimes can be really loud, and you can feel it in your body. It's like going to a DJ and feeling that bass. Once I had an experience with a sperm whale. It clicked, my ears almost like bounced back. It's really an amazing feeling, you know.
You don't develop a huge, complicated brain if you're not using it. Whales have little channels of communicating where they could talk to each other hundreds of kilometers away using sound.
Sperm whales make clicks in sort of rhythmic patterns that we call codas. Any family might have 20 to 25 different coda patterns that they use when they're having conversations with each other. And some of them are unique to different places in the world. In the Eastern Caribbean, they make a lot of what we call a 1 + 1 + 3. That sounds kind of like this. And that's only ever been recorded in the Caribbean. And it's been identical for the last 35 years. These are really different ways of life that are being labeled by these coda patterns. In the same way that human language is kind of a shorthand for where you come from. You can make a lot of missteps when traveling simply by speaking incorrectly or introducing yourself differently. Do you hug? Do you shake hands? Do you bow? And a growing concern has to do with the noise that we're putting into the ocean. Everything we do impacts everything they're doing. The sound is causing high levels of stress in animals like this. No one wants to live at a rock concert. You can imagine trying to have your home inside an arena while some metal band is playing. And that's increasingly what the ocean feels like.
It's Irina. Since there's no dive today, I'm going to lose myself in the wet lab to work on those samples you sent up from the brine pool. Hey, have you listened to my daughter's track? Interesting, right?
Mirai, remember the tag we found on the turtles? I put it out on the network and I got the strangest message back. I'm going to take a tender to a small island nearby and check it out. I'll explain everything later. Still no mapping drone, by the way.
Hey, it's me. Nana didn't qualify for the study. Doctor says we missed the window. Whatever that means. Hard to tell what she remembers now. It's tough. Not sure my head's 100% there with school. Honestly, seems like a waste of money. Anyway, see you.
Brine pools are amazing habitat. It's a lake on the bottom of the ocean. And it's this surreal seascape. Chemically, each one of them is unique.
These brines undoubtedly contain bacteria, archaea, and viruses that are unknown to science. We know that they're incredibly rich in undescribed life forms. They have the perfect cocktail, the perfect recipe for life. These sites aren't just salty, they can be violent, characterized by eruptions and incredibly unstable conditions. So to live in them, you have to not only be hardy, but you have to be able to endure constantly changing conditions, because not one day is the same. The organisms that live there, they undergo a constant biological warfare with each other to dominate the environment, to survive in the system. The biochemicals that they produce to do that biological warfare are applicable to curing diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's. They produce antibiotics and antivirals that can also be used to improve human health. And we drop targets as we go, so we know exactly where we sample. Exploring these habitats is absolutely necessary because the metabolic potential there has the capacity to change the way we think about medicine, to change the way we think about antibiotics, based on our knowledge that we gain from studying these incredible environments in the deep sea.
Imagine if I was sent in to go study the Mona Lisa, and I come in with a pair of snippers, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to cut this baby up a little bit to see what kind of chemical composition is going on there. Like, you wouldn't do that, right? We don't have to kill these animals. We don't have to kill to understand. If we could do a single cell, that means we don't need to kill 20,000 animals to be able to really understand that one. We could do our work much more non-invasively.
So we are working this year on a new project to deploy tags on orcas. We need to learn more about the diet and how they use the habitat. So by deploying those tags, we get the information we need. It is the least invasive method. It is suction cups. So it is not a scratch on the whale afterwards, which is something we really like.
In the deep sea, we use these like robotic claws from the oil and gas industry that gets you the sample, but this is so archaic. So we've been designing something called squishy robot fingers, which are ways to be gentle when we study the deep sea. But I think we could even take this another level. There's some organism, we quickly encase it. It's like a medical checkup. We give it a swab to get its genome. We image it from all directions. We open it up, the animal goes away, and we have more information than we've ever had before. These animals are Mona Lisas. Our perception of them should change. We should be more delicate.
Day 13. We're in the vents region without a map because of the lost drone. Diving blind, but I know these vents are important to Arena. We tracked a tag from our whale family here. I'm hoping it just fell off, as this would be an unusual place for a whale to be. Andre has the dive suit in safe mode, so I'll have restricted range. Head south to find the clearing for the sub pickup. Check. Ready to dive. I'm in and okay.
Remember, no buoys and no waypoints. I put a simple version of the mapping system on your Manta drone. Now, we won't get your feed live, so we'll hear you, but won't see what you see.
I really wish we hadn't lost that mapping drone.
Relax. You know I've got this.
Of course, but we'll keep unnecessary chatter to a minimum to help you focus.
Roger that. No chit-chat. Singing's okay, though, right? Irina, how will I know the difference again between a dormant vent and a live vent?
Well, the live vents would have 400-degree water streaming out, so that's one way.
Check. Wide berth in the live hydrothermal vents.
Sorry, I thought my mic was muted. This is a dormant field. No live vents.
Neither of you are gonna believe this. I think I found the mapping drone.
Really?
No way.
Can you scan it to make sure?
Scan confirms. If the drone could make it all the way here, why would it die while it was mapping?
I really wish I knew. Maybe at some point we can borrow equipment to do a proper salvage operation and find out.
Okay, this dive just keeps getting stranger. How hot did you say that water typically is in a live vent?
Is that a joke?
No joke. Well, we're down one drone, but discovered an unmapped vent system.
Mirai, this is great. I truly believe that these systems are the key to understanding the origins of life. Thank you so much for doing the dive under these conditions.
Actually, that might be the answer.
What?
To why the drone died.
We were talking about the origins of life.
My mind won't stop if it can't fit all the pieces together. The mapping drone may have cruised too close to the vent. It's got more delicate equipment on its underside that are not rated for anything close to that temperature.
You sound almost pleased.
Well, it's better to know the flaws so you can fix them.
I know we're giving me the silent treatment, but I think I just discovered a new species of octopus.
Not sure I can confirm that with just one scan.
Sorry, didn't copy that. Irina, did you expect volcanic activity here?
Describe, please.
Red, glowing. Need more?
Mirai, I would give that a very wide berth. Like maybe from your sub.
Are you kidding me?
Describe, please.
I can't. I mean, I don't want to.
Mirai, you're making me uneasy.
Seriously, we'll look at it together when I'm done with the dive. Oh no! What happened to you? Were you sick?
Are you okay?
Just getting a few last scans. And saying goodbye to a friend. Can you send the sub?
We watched the video log from your dive. I'm truly heartsick.
I'm furious. Where should we start?
The whale fall was definitely from the baby's family. The tail fluke was intact enough to scan it.
But you are sure it wasn't the mother?
It wasn't the mother. The ID matched another whale we know from her family. But it was an older whale, so more vulnerable.
Do you think there's any connection to the miners?
They did plenty of damage, but I don't think the whale fall is on them.
I can pull out anything from the scan log that might be worth investigating.
Already have. Can you turn these into dive objectives?
Right. Catch you in a bit. And while I do that, can you pull up the video of that damaged area?
The destroyed vent. I couldn't believe how badly the seabed was chewed up.
Vents that might have had a fossil record dating back over 1 billion years.
A microbial life that doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. Who knows what cures we've lost.
Your drone's a fallen hero, Andre. I think it spooked the miners before they did more damage.
Because they happen to be mining where we send the drone to map. Anywhere else, and they might still be active.
Who gets the satisfaction of turning them in?
We were debating that before you came on.
We should jointly report. It'll be stronger.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Hydrothermal vents are located on the seabed, often in deep water, but sometimes in shallower water. And they form in areas where new oceanic crust is being formed. You can have 400-degree water here and 2-degree water over here. It's an accelerometer for chemistry, and you can form organic compounds in the absence of biology. Everybody's interested in vents because of the metals, including humans. But the metals are sort of the nuclei for life. When you think about what's required for life, you've got to have an energy source, you've got to have a system that's able to utilize that energy source. And the organisms sort of co-evolve with the rock. And in my mind, that's probably how life originated. There are reservoirs of precious metals in the deep sea. We do have societal needs for precious metals. It's very short-sighted and dangerous to exploit resources in ecosystems that we don't truly understand how those ecosystems function.
Deep sea mining is when people go out and extract minerals from the seafloor. People do this because a lot of the minerals that we have on land are actually being depleted, like copper and zinc, so we're looking to the ocean to get those minerals.
We want these minerals for solar panels primarily, and we want them for cell phone boards. It's necessary to advance society and get us off fossil fuels. We simply have no idea about the environmental consequences of a lot of these actions that we're taking in the deep sea. We have tended to go for the quick benefit and we'll deal with the consequences later. Well, I think that has caught up with us.
We don't know enough right now to effectively, selectively mine the deep sea without catastrophic consequences.
The science has always lagged behind the industrialization. I would like for once to see the science ahead of the industrialization and have the science define the limits of the industrialization.
Day 14. Arena's analysis of the whale fall shows evidence of toxins from a harmful algal bloom. We have to find Andrea and her family and get biosamples. On a positive note, Andrea's side trip was a success. He found an amazing group of teens who have been nurturing the turtle population back to health. running out of dive time. Especially if I go home early. Ready to dive. I'm in and okay. This area looks so different at night. I used to love diving in the moonlight.
The pod was active in this area as recently as an hour ago.
When was the last tracking data for the baby or its mother?
Days ago. But they could be with the pod right now and just not making any noise. There you go, first waypoint. They'll load automatically from here on in. I have the Explorer drones patrolling to get as many eyes and ears looking for the pod as possible.
Do I need the buoys?
No, we'll use the hydrophones on the drones. They don't have the range or fidelity of the buoys, but we need speed.
Thanks.
Mariah, you know that no chatter rule was just for the vent area, right?
I'm sorry?
I think he's pointing out that you seem distracted.
Sorry. I'm back. Talk to me about something positive. Bit of Andre. Were you able to make contact with the teenagers you were telling me about?
They've been helping the leatherback turtle population rebound here in the region. They've developed a nest cooling technology to help the baby turtles. They've also built their own tracking drones.
Teams with tech. Sounds like you've inspired some citizen scientists, Andre. I don't remember having dolphins in the dive objectives.
I added them because of their role in the disease that hit the dolphin population a few years back.
Done. Andre, have you picked up any tags from our pod?
No, not yet. I'm going to widen the radius for the Explorer drones.
I have the lab ready to start work on the samples when you're done with your dive.
How quickly will you get results?
We can do initial screens quickly to narrow things down.
Have you decided whether or not you want another dive back at the brine pool?
With everything going on, I really hadn't had the chance to look at the schedule, but I would always say yes to that.
Right. I'm near the waypoint and can hear a humpback singing, but I don't see it. I think I'm losing it. It's gotta be close. I feel like it's singing right in my ear.
Try a scan visor.
That's totally weird. I see a scan dot, but nothing's there. I think the humpback is invisible.
Sorry, I'm afraid I'm the invisible whale.
I'm definitely losing it. I thought you just said you're an invisible whale.
Well, not me. The humpback song I generated. You're at a playback station. It's pretty small on the buoy line, but in the dark you probably can't see the line.
Wow, it must be pretty authentic. At least enough to convince your drone. Mirai, have you heard back from Ren yet?
No.
Is Ren okay? Rai, are you there?
I'm not sure.
Pardon?
I meant about Ren. I don't know. We had a fight right before I left the sub.
Do you want to call her now? I can patch you through.
Seriously? Here?
Well, I have to watch your video feed for safety, but I can mute your audio track for privacy.
Wow, I've never talked to her while I was diving. No, I'll wait for the sub.
Okay, Mirai, you're on. The drone on the outer patrol just picked up several sperm whales on visual.
Thanks.
No sound alerts at all. They're being awfully quiet.
think I found the pod. Yes, that is them. I don't see the baby, but it's a little dark.
Why aren't they moving?
They're sleeping.
I had no idea. They look alien, but beautiful.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna mute my comm while I get the samples.
I don't think they can hear us through your visor.
I think she is the one that is needing some quiet.
Thanks, Serena. Catch you at the sub. Mariah out.
Hello, Mirai. It's me. I don't see a sample from either the baby or the mother. Andre said you were going back out to look for them. I know you're still deciding, but I told him you're thinking about leaving the expedition early. As soon as I have results, I'll let you know.
Mirai, I think I have a location for the mother and baby. They were spotted just outside the research zone by those teenagers I was telling you about. Now, I don't have much data, but the report doesn't sound positive. I'll let Irina know as well.
Hello?
Is now a good time? You sound tired.
Yeah, I'm a zombie. I have trouble sleeping.
Did the doctor say anything other than Nana missed the window?
Not really.
Did you ask him the questions I said?
Didn't seem to be any point. Listen, I'm exhausted. I'll catch you later, okay?
Bren, please don't hang up. Bren? Okay.
Hello?
Were you asleep? It's the middle of the day.
Why does that matter?
Did you say school wasn't working out?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Listen, I'm exhausted. I'll catch you later, okay?
Bren, please don't hang up. Bren? Okay.
I study things that are beyond their wildest imaginations, and that I see things that are brand new to science and to people and to humanity every day.
I'm at home in these kinds of environments. It's funny, I'm more comfortable here than I probably am on the outside.
It wasn't just that I was meant to be out on ships. I was supposed to be in the bottom. I was supposed to be in the deep water. I was supposed to be doing those things that nobody had ever done before. It completes who I am. Being a deep sea scientist, it does require sacrifice. I mean, we're away from our families for weeks on end, sometimes months on end. It's a constant struggle because you miss parts of your kid's life. My oldest daughter was about to turn 3 when the oil spill happened in 2010. I was at sea a lot. So between 27 months and 36 months, I was gone probably more than I was there. When I came home after a 5-week stint in the Gulf, she came running up to me in the airport. She had transitioned from a toddler to a little girl, and the little girl was gone, and there was this other person there, and you don't ever get that back. It was a decision. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna miss transformations, I'm gonna miss really important things. Is it worth it? I had talked to her class about the ocean, and one of her friends said something to her, and she responded, you know, my mommy, she's the ocean doctor. The ocean is sick, and she's trying to make it better. She couldn't even say important. She's like, it's really important. But she understands that it's an important job. Every time before I leave, I say, my most important job on this planet is being your mother. But this is part of me too.
Same night, last dive. We're near the coastal area where Andrea and her mother were last spotted. Suit checked and rechecked. Can't risk any exposure in case the bloom hasn't completely resolved. Hard to swim after absorbing neurotoxin. Seriously. Diving now.
I'm in.
Right. Are you sure you want to do this dive?
I'm okay.
And you're sure you want to record in our streaming format?
Yes.
Ready? Recording now.
Tonight we're recording from the open ocean in the Western Pacific. For those of you who are returning, we're trying to get an updated status on the mother and baby sperm whale that we've been following on our stream. We're recording tonight's stream because we have reports that the mother whale is distressed, and we don't want to surprise viewers if these reports are true.
After discovering a whale fall in our research zone, we suspected that the whales may have been exposed to a toxin or pathogen, and are currently investigating. Samples from several females in the pod tested positive for a toxin that we believe resulted from exposure to a harmful algal bloom near the coastal area just outside our research zone.
As I approach the whales, I'm going to turn off my mic, but keep on my video feed. No.
The whales that we tested showed low level of this toxin, so we do not believe they will suffer from long-term effects. However, we expect that the mother whale was exposed to a higher level and was also more vulnerable because of her pregnancy. Andre, those orcas sure look like they're threatening the baby whale.
Stay close to your aunties. They know the way. As far as we know, those were the only 2 whales affected by the bloom. With all of Andre's technology genius, he still hasn't invented a way to be in 2 places at the same time. Before my flight home landed, Irina and Andre had already confirmed the location of the harmful bloom. I stayed close to home with Nana until she passed the next year. Ren moved in with me to save money while she finished school, which was great. Mostly. It was Ren's idea to keep the live stream going remotely using one of Andre's drones. But it was my fabulous idea to have Ren join the stream to choose the questions from the audience. She is definitely a hit. I can't lie. It's great to be diving again. While I was away, the baby became an auntie. I think she likes it. She still buzzes me when I play my coda sounds, so that is still a mystery. But I swear, we understand each other completely.
Hello, Mirai. It's me. I don't see a sample from either the baby or the mother. Andre said you were going back out to look for them. I know you're still deciding, but I told him you're thinking about leaving the expedition early. As soon as I have results, I'll let you know.
Mirai, I think I have a location for the mother and baby. They were spotted just outside the research zone by those teenagers I was telling you about. Now, I don't have much data, but the report doesn't sound positive. I'll let Irina know as well.
Hello? Is now a good time? You sound tired.
Yeah, I'm a zombie. I have trouble sleeping.
Did the doctor say anything other than Nana missed the window?
Not really.
Did you ask him the questions I said?
Didn't seem to be any point. Listen, I'm exhausted. I'll catch you later, okay?
Ren, please don't hang up. Ren? Okay.
We're burdened from a time when we thought the ocean was too big to fail.
You can't take anything for granted. Even though the ocean is so big, it is sensitive.
The oceans are the kidneys of the earth. They recycle material and filter it out. Most people don't know that. They're not aware. They see the ocean as a sewer that they can dump anything into, and it's out of sight, out of mind. Nothing is out of sight, out of mind on this planet. Everything is connected.
We are absolutely in this mix of biogeochemistry, and our role so far has been consumptive and destructive. If we are to continue to have a planet that works, we have to heal the harm we've caused.
What's the worst case scenario if we deny that the climate is changing, but actually it is, and we do nothing? Then billions of people's lives will be directly affected just by sea level rise alone, let alone the other effects of climate change. So it's not about who's right, it's about the consequences of being wrong in the decision that we make right now.
Educating everybody, from school children, fishermen, tourists, if we can manage to do that, we have a very good future and we can gain a lot from the ocean.
If we could establish the foundation for interspecies communication, we can make first contact. And that's where I hope the future goes. Because what we really want is curious, conscientious, and a self-correcting population.
You changing can affect all the people around you. To walk instead of drive, to buy a hybrid, to ride a bicycle, to not use single-use plastic. Imagine if everybody did that. The effect would be tremendous.
We do have the power of choice about what we eat, what we wear, how we travel, all the things that we do in an everyday way, times 7 billion, will make all the difference in the world. We must protect the ocean, as if our lives depend on it, because they do.
SO Nadir, hatch secure, life support running, and we are ready for the water.
Oh, here she is. Look at the length of that thing. He is wider than the sub.
Is long.
No one has dived to 1,000 meters in Antarctica.
My depth, 1,000 meters on bottom, over.
As a scientist, I could tell you we discover something new every time we go out. That's been my drive, to discover things, to uncover mysteries that we can then solve.
We're on a new frontier of ocean exploration that will bring out the explorer in all of us. We're partnering with the Ocean X initiative to build a mind-blowing platform for exploration. A research vessel that's a one-of-a-kind ocean conservation and media platform to explore the world's oceans in ways that were never before possible, to create one big wave for the oceans.
I think it's really exciting. There's still a massive part of this planet we know nothing about.
We need to make people understand what we do in the next 10 years is going to determine what the ocean looks like in 200 years' time.
Audiences glued to Blue Planet 2 have been starkly reminded of the problems of plastics pollution.
50 years ago, Jacques Cousteau and the Calypso managed to capture our imagination. Somehow we lost that moment. We have to get back that personal connection to the sea.
The greatest era of exploration is still ahead of us. Exploring the ocean can help provide a piece to the big puzzle.
Jellyfish have mechanisms of self-repair. They're constantly getting bitten by turtles and chunks getting taken away. 50% of the jellyfish population are wounded. So they've gone through 500 million years living, persisting in the ocean in simplicity, and they've come up with some remarkable ways of living. There's something called the immortal jellyfish and how they age. Aging in reverse, which we're just beginning to understand, where they get old and then degenerate back into a youth again. In understanding the gene pathways and how this happens, this could look at, humans. We don't have this capacity to age in reverse. It's like Benjamin Button, and it's here. And it just takes the kind of focus and dedication to look at that jellyfish and to grow that jellyfish and to figure out how to use the best available scientific tools to get at this question. It's just about kind of looking super deeply and letting the secrets unfold.
My family used to go to the beach every summer. For me, that was my favorite thing to do all year long. Hearing the seagulls, the sound of the ocean pounding on the beach. For me, that was just grounding and relaxing and fascinating all at the same time.
The physicality of the ocean is one of the things that, as a kid, attracted me the most. That thrill of just having that ocean energy push me along. You could just ride all day. There was no lift tickets, there was no fees to get into the ocean.
When I describe to people what it's like to dive on a coral reef, they're like, oh, I never thought about that. They've never had a shark swim right beside them. Look them in the eye and give them a little fright for a second before they realize that the shark just wonders what I'm doing, just like I wonder what the shark is doing.
I started free diving. So when I think of diving, I really think of free diving. Like, this is what whales do, right? Take a big breath of air and they hold that oxygen inside their body. This ability to free dive down to where the scuba divers were, swim around and come back up, was just so free. Nothing on, no equipment. I just love that. It made me feel like a fish.
When I did my first submersible dive, I realized it wasn't just that I was meant to be out on ships. I was supposed to be in the bottom. I don't think anyone has ever measured endorphins in submarines, but I can tell you they're probably through the roof.
The first time I was in a submarine, I saw that life down there and 50 new questions popped into my brain that wouldn't have come up because it was this immersive experience and I just felt it.
When you're in a submarine and you're looking at these magical environments, you're overwhelmed by this sense of wonder. You're humbled by this feeling of there's so much I don't know about the world, and you're stimulated to figure out how this all works together.
I'm a marine biologist. I'm someone who studies the ocean from as many angles as I can.
When my kids ask me what I do for a living, I tell them that I'm an explorer. I'm an aquanaut. I dive down to the bottom of the ocean and I see things that people have never seen before. How lucky am I to be able to share this amazing habitat with the rest of the world?
My name is Shane Garrow, and I'm the founder of the Dominica Sperm Whale Project. I've been following the lives of sperm whale families in the Caribbean Sea based off the beautiful nature island of Dominica. I've had the sort of greatest honor to spend thousands of hours in the company of the sperm whale families. And over the last 15 years, we've come to know 30 different families. We know about 10 of those personally. My research focuses mostly on the connection between these families' lives and what they say to each other, and how they succeed in the ocean by living in these small families. They live these rich and complex lives in part of the ocean that we find difficult to even explore. Sperm whale society is matrilineal, meaning it's grandmothers and daughters that will live together for life. The young males live in the family until they're about teenagers, and then they go on this sort of open ocean wander for about 15 to 20 years before they are breeding age. But females will stay together for life. They communally raise and defend their babies, and they live in this sort of community of neighboring families just like we do. Behavior is what you do, but culture is how you've learned to do it. In the same way that we're all humans, but some of us eat with chopsticks and some of us eat with a fork. We're all still eating, but how we've learned to eat is importantly different. The secret for how these animals are surviving are these traditional behaviors, and that's why every calf counts. Every female calf is critically important, and each one of those that we lose so much potential. I think one thing that my research has shown is that our lives are really similar. The values that we have in our families, love your mom, be a good neighbor, learn from your grandmother's experience. And ultimately, life is about the quality of the relationships that you build with those around you, whether you're a whale or not. The secrets that my grandmother learned are helping me to survive now. Ensuring that these grandmothers survive to be grandmothers to share their stories, and ensuring that these babies live long enough to learn them is what's going to enable these animals to be around for a long time.
What we know as humans about whales comes from just a few scientists so far, like Roger and Katie Payne. They had background in music, and by kind of mapping out the songs, noticing that if they would look at this almost like a song sheet, every 15 minutes or so there would be a repeat. Only male humpbacks sing, but the function of their song is still mysterious. The general belief is that whale songs serve the same purposes that bird songs do, as ways for males to advertise for mates and to challenge rivals. But why they change their songs is still unknown. Taking that information from whales and passing that to us humans was one of the most transformative pieces of narrative to feed the Save the Whale movement and maybe save some whales from extinction. These animals are sharing this world that might have been millions of years going on in their world, and suddenly, for the first time, we, as humans, are tuning in.
If people stayed on the shore, never got underwater, how would we ever know that fish like one another? When you see fish interact with other creatures, like the octopus and the grouper, who go fishing together, they communicate in ways that we don't know what they're saying, but they know what they're saying. They've been on the earth for hundreds of millions of years. They've had a long time to figure out these close relationships.
Sharks actually might prey on dolphins in a natural setting, but when they are presented with a bait ball, then they work together for this common goal to feed on the fish.
We had very large bait balls spread over probably half the size of a football field. We had mobula, we had dolphins, the bait was shifting everywhere, animals were coming in, moving out, just moving so quickly.
So we have some orcas around the bowl and also under. So everybody works together as a team, herding the fish. Males, female, everybody is doing this, and they will eventually share the stunned fish afterwards, which is pretty amazing to see. There is no competition, so everybody's working together and everybody is sharing the prey afterwards.
It really takes a long time of being in there, watching the same species of fish to figure out these really interesting things that they're doing. So I think that there's probably a lot of really interesting behaviours out there that we haven't even discovered yet.
The energy from our star flies through the universe, through our atmosphere, and hits us at the ground. But now, when we go underwater, the ocean properties of water are like pure blue filter. So it's going to filter out all these other wavelengths except blue. As you go down further, it's primarily blue, blue, blue till 700 meters. And at that level, there's still faint photons of sunlight in the blue range. And we call this the twilight zone. And there, animals are still perceiving a tiny little bit of our sun's energy. Below this, it's gone. 24/7 darkness. And it turns out that there's a ton of color vision down in the deep, so it's like they're making enough light down there to be able to be satisfying all the eyes of the deep sea creatures. So it's not this totally dark world down there. It's still light, it's just the animals are making the light rather than the sun. We've designed all this technology to kind of satisfy our visual hardware. As I started looking at other animals, they have totally different hardware. And I've been looking at everything through these silly little primate eyes. We have to overcome our humanness to jump behind the world of a shark or another creature and see the world from their perspective. We found a biofluorescent shark, and it only sees right at the blue-green interface. So it's really just tuned to a very similar spectrum to the environment it lives in. This fluorescence was creating greater contrast for the shark. It's like this endless well of information. We're at the very tip of the iceberg.
It's a big ocean. You got to be able to see what's worth spending your time on.
When I'm down there in a submarine and I'm seeing all these animals, it's always about which one of these is new, which one of these has not been seen before to science.
Why did these animals come here as opposed to there, and where are they going? They're really tangible things that we can do now to start answering some of these questions, but as the technology develops, we can become more and more and more and more sophisticated.
Technology is emerging on all fronts. We're using all this side-scan sonar and hydrophones to map things out. We can use these sound underwater surveillance systems to actually track whales and see them move all around the ocean. There's a new field called environmental DNA, where you just look at the sloughed off cells that are in the water to know who is there.
Oh, the whale shark was just here. Can we follow it? And you sniff the trail of the whale shark's DNA.
How am I going to understand a shark if I'm thinking like an old world primate? We're totally different. It took me several years to look at the eyes, to look at the hardware, to measure the light, and to build the camera so we could get all these hints into how that shark might be seeing the world. Because it's like a detective story.
Mirai, sperm whales. And they must be your pod because I have a tag signal that is definitely ours. Pushing the waypoint.
On my way.
Oh, scheint ein Bug zu sein hier. Na toll. Krieg ist nicht weg wahrscheinlich mehr. Naja. Das ist ja blöd. Ja, leider haben Spiele auch Bugs. So, Stream ist aber auch sowieso vorbei. Erstmal wieder. Blöd jetzt natürlich hier mit dem Bug, aber ja, so ein paar Sachen sind noch zu finden an Fische. Hab noch nicht alle gefunden. Mal gucken, ob es jetzt weggeht. Okay, geht wieder weg. Gut. Ich hatte schon gedacht, es geht nicht weg. Oh doch, geht doch nicht weg.
Right, sperm whales. And they must be your pod because I have a tag signal that is definitely ours.
Spiel verlassen. Zurück zum Start. Vielleicht geht's ja dann weg. Gucken. Na gut. Ja, dann danke ich fürs Zuschauen. Wenn der Stream gefallen hat, würde ich mich gerne auf ein Follow freuen. Und ansonsten, ja, streammäßig geht's Mittwoch weiter. Ich weiß noch nicht welches Spiel, aber ich denke mal wahrscheinlich entweder ein bisschen Need for Speed wieder, Billard oder ein ganz anderes Spiel. Ja. Von meiner Seite erstmal eine schöne Woche und bis zum nächsten Mal. Und eine schöne Woche, genau, hatte ich ja gesagt. Viel Gesundheit vor allem und bis zum nächsten Mal. Ja. Macht's gut, euer Pyro-DRAGON TV Berlin auf Twitch und YouTube. Auf Twitch streame ich auch, aber da heiße ich anders. Da heiße ich DJ Pyro-DRAGON Mashup Berlin. Könnt ihr auch mal gerne gucken, wenn ihr Lust habt. Da mache ich auch meine Let's Plays und auch manchmal DJ-Streams. Interaktive Meisterschaften gibt es manchmal und vielleicht auch irgendwann mal wieder den ein oder anderen kleinen Show-Act hier von mir mit, habe ich mal gemacht, so nicht abstrakte Kunst, Show mit so CDs und Masken und so LED-Effekte. Ansonsten mal auch wieder ab und zu mal bestimmt auch mal wieder meine abstrakte Kunst mit Fäden und Farbe, die man auf YouTube sehen kann. Da brauche ich aber noch ein paar Sachen, ein paar Pinsel und auch, eigentlich brauche ich keine Pinsel, ein paar Zeichenblöcke und ja, auch für die Shows brauche ich auch noch mal ein bisschen Equipment. Da fehlt mir auch noch ein bisschen was von den LEDs her. Der eine ist eine LED-Lampe ist kaputt gegangen. Ja. Ansonsten, wenn ihr mal auch ein besonderes Spiel sehen wollt bei mir, einfach in den Chat schreiben und ich gucke, ob ich das dann habe und dann streame ich das auch. Ansonsten, ja, streame ich meistens querbeet, je nachdem, so wie die Atmosphäre gerade ist, wie die Situation ist. Und ich glaube, das Spiel passt ganz gut jetzt gerade in der Zeit. Ja, und ansonsten hauptsächlich bei mir gibt es meistens Autorennspiele zu sehen, Abenteuerspiele, wenn es um Let's Plays geht, Shooter-Spiele eher weniger, Kampfspiele noch Beat'em Up so ein bisschen. Ja, das ist so meine Spielrichtung. Genau. Gut, jetzt gibt es nochmal Musik und dann geht's beim nächsten Mal weiter hier am Mittwoch. Wahrscheinlich wieder so die gleiche Zeit. Denke mal auch wieder so 15 Uhr. Vielleicht sogar bis 20 Uhr. 5 Stunden Streams mache ich durchaus auch. Also 3 Stunden, 5 Stunden. Habe auch schon mal einen 7 Stunden Stream gemacht. Ist immer unterschiedlich, je nachdem wie ich Zeit habe. Aber meistens immer montags und mittwochs auf YouTube. Und Freitag und Sonntag auf Twitch. Ja. Twitch-Zeiten sind auch unterschiedlich. Meistens von 17 Uhr bis 20 Uhr. Oder auch von 17 Uhr bis 22 Uhr. Aber es gibt auch manchmal Abendstreams von mir, also Nachtstreams. Dann aber auch nur auf Twitch von 22 Uhr bis 3 Uhr. Das ist aber ganz selten. Ist immer unterschiedlich. Aber es gibt auch, wie gesagt, so eine Zeit mal, wenn ich dann wirklich viel Zeit habe und auch nicht schlafen kann. Ja. Aber ansonsten immer die Zeiten, meistens Montag und Mittwoch auf Twitch, wie gesagt, zwischen 15 und 22 Uhr ist immer so meine Streamzeit. Und da, wie gesagt, gibt es dann halt entweder 3 Stunden Streams von 15 bis 18 Uhr oder von 17 Uhr bis 20 Uhr oder halt die 5 Stunden Streams von 15 Uhr bis 20 Uhr oder von 17 Uhr bis 22 Uhr. Genau. Nochmal von den Zeiten her, dass ihr so ungefähr habt, dass ihr, wenn ihr regelmäßig meine Streams schauen möchtet, auch nicht verpasst. Ansonsten kann man sich ja auch die Wiederholung anschauen. Manchmal habe ich einige gelöscht, weil es dann wegen Musik und so, Hintergrundmusik rausgenommen wurde. Aber ich denke mal jetzt die Videos, das Spiel ist ja jetzt nicht mehr so neu, das haben schon einige auf jeden Fall gestreamt. Aber sehr schönes Spiel auf jeden Fall, kann ich nur weiterempfehlen, die das Spiel noch nicht kennen, auf der PS4. Und gibt es im PlayStation Store, ja. Ich glaube, kostet aber jetzt auch schon ein bisschen was. Ich habe es kostenlos noch bekommen, als es kostenlos war. Aber ich glaube, allzu viel zahlt man jetzt auch nicht für das Spiel. Ich glaube, jetzt müsste ich raten, ich bin mir nicht genau sicher, aber mehr als 10 Euro wird es nicht kosten. So, ja, also noch Musik und dann bis zum nächsten Mal. Gucken, ob ich irgendwie irgendwas mit Ocean finde. Ach nee, da sehe ich nur die Videos wahrscheinlich. Mal gucken. Ocean? Ne. Nur Videos. Okay. Underwater Exploration. Orient. Gucken, was ist das? Oh, das passt doch super hier. Ich will den Drehen um mein Knie. Ah, ist schwer. Natürlich so dreht sich das nicht. Das war schwierig, so die Drehung zu machen hier. Ungefähr so. Das ist schwer mit der Steuerung hier. ist echt schwierig mit der Steuerung, die Drehung hinzukriegen hier. Ein Stück gerade. Ne, kriegt man nicht hin. Also kriegt die schon hin, aber es ist schwierig, die Drehung. Dass es so realistisch wie möglich aussieht, ne? Ah, fast ungefähr so. Na gut. Reicht für heute erstmal wieder. Halbe Stunde soll ja noch länger hin. So, bye, bis Mittwoch.